Speical.
Hello and welcome to GrandOldTeam TV. I am with the one and only Gareth Farrelly. Gareth, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm very well. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for your time. We appreciate it. I was just saying how great it is to speak to former players, and I was telling you that I've rather embarrassingly had you on my wall.
Well, you're one of the few. Not exactly a claim to fame.
I remember, I think you were next to someone like David Unsworth, I think. That we were talking about the 90s kids are remembering the programme used to have the poster in the middle.
Yeah, it used to be great, yeah.
Yeah.
People would turn up for the game hoping it was their week where they'd be on the front, no one
really?
in the middle. Yeah.
What, so the lads would get it open?
Yeah,
and
you would do, yeah. It was always nice.
Yeah. Well, so anyway, that's one of my some of my earliest memories, to be honest. One of my earliest memories was, to be fair, quite clear was your goal. You know, the famous one that kept us in the league. Yeah. So I know you've been asked this.
Nearly the only one.
Nearly the only one, but it was an important one.
Yeah, it was massive at the time. Yeah.
And I know you've been asked this probably 10,000 times by Evertonians, but can you just talk us through it, like what you can remember?
Yeah, but listen, it's quite funny because you're always asked, can you talk me through what you remember of something that's happened 19 years ago?
Yeah.
Which is always a giggle. But like the first part of that is, I was an Evertonian, and I am an Evertonian, which is one of the really interesting nuances to that. And even, obviously, I know where we are, the history of where we are now, even, but as you walk down, you can still see on the wall where people talk about 1998.
Yeah.
Escaping relegation on the last day of the season. So it's something to be incredibly proud of. So without being cliched, it's something massive, but its significance has increased over a period of years. Because I think at that time when you play, I think that year we were more preoccupied with how hard a season it was and how difficult it had been for me. But then to obviously get an outcome like that, which was incredible, but fabulous. Why we're here talking, which is great. But it was a difficult and different time because I played a Carling Cup game equivalent in 8 minutes football for Everton after that, which was really, really difficult because you go through something difficult, which is very hard. And it was my first season sort of as a first team kind of pro. I'd come from quite a sheltered position at Villa, which was like a very, very successful team, very, very strong team that had been up near the top of the table for years. You were kind of like the young gun coming through. There wasn't pressure in the sense that how important or how vital games were.
Yeah.
You were going into a team that was doing really, really well, and it made it a little bit easier. Whereas as an Evertonian, for me, I just wanted to sign for Everton. I didn't sit down statistically and break down an analysis on the basis of, well, for the last 2 to 3 seasons they've been in relegation trouble, and maybe that's something you should consider before you're signing for a new club.
Right, so you're hot.
I just wanted to sign for Everton, yeah.
You're hot.
Yeah, it was a weird one.
Completely bossed that one then, yeah.
It's like you say about not thinking about asking questions from the past, but the giggle up for me was I was going to leave Aston Villa. There was a lot of clubs wanted to sign me at the time.
Right.
Howard Kendall took over, who we talk about pictures on walls. When I started supporting Everton in '83, he was one of my heroes, and that team, they were all heroes at that time. That team was incredible. So for me to get an opportunity to come and sign for Everton, my thought process didn't go beyond that. There's quite a funny story around the day I signed, and there's been different versions of stories because again, came up, met Howard, Adrian Heath, Viv Busby was here. The agent at the time got into negotiations. We hadn't concluded negotiations. I signed a blank contract and went home. And we drove back to Nottingham.
I bet your agent was chuffed.
No, God, he drove back to Nottingham. I flew back East Midlands and I went home. And again, I think I was probably only 20. And I went to bed and the next morning got shook awake by Mum saying, Newcastle United are on the phone.
Ooh.
And I was like, what do you mean Newcastle United are on the phone? She went, no, you need to go to the phone. I thought they were winding me up because I'd obviously signed for Everton the night before.
Yeah.
And she went, no, they're on the phone. There's someone wants to speak to you now. So I went out and it was Pat Devlin was the Newcastle scout.
Okay.
And he was obviously really, really close with Kenny Dalglish, who we'd worked for previously with Liverpool. And Pat Devlin was on the phone and he went, listen, Gareth, I've been trying to get hold of your number for weeks. Is there any chance you can go and sit down with Kenny and discuss maybe going to Newcastle? And I actually turned around and said, well, signed for Everton yesterday. And you're like, can't believe it, but I don't think it would have affected anything anyway.
No, so, that's covered off quite a few of your questions there, Gareth, but that's fine.
We've got nothing left.
Yeah, that's it. Game over.
Yeah.
No.
Onto the dodgy bullet points now.
They'll be coming in a bit. They're entertaining. They're going to be entertaining.
I've been forewarned about the bullet points.
That'll be loads of fun. But before we get onto that, just the goal though.
Yeah, the goal.
Is it just a blur in your head now?
No, not a blur at all. you joke about it. You talk about the scrutiny and the level of detail the players are under now, and how everything is hyped up and created in such a way to make it. There's no normal people anymore. We're all superhumans in football. But I remember we went and stayed on the Wirral the night before the game.
Okay.
And you could kind of, squad was together the night before a game was quite a big thing, even though it was a home game. And I'll never forget the next day we'd spoken about who would be playing, who might not be playing, who had done the press in the week. Everybody was under no illusions about how massive it was and the significance of it. And I remember it was a different atmosphere. I remember getting the bus across. I remember people being out on the street. I remember the bus pulling up, and it was quite a unique atmosphere. I remember us going out for the warm-up and thinking, place is nearly full.
Yeah.
And from a fans, it's quite interesting because through the season, and Evertonians sometimes we're not happy unless we're unhappy, right? You have a situation where there was like a collective. It was as if there was an understanding that, well, listen, it's not about criminations, or it's not about how bad the season's been, or it's been shit, or so-and-so's been bad. It was just, hang on a second, we need to stay up today. How are we going to do that? And like from an atmosphere point of view, you talk about, I think the ladies team had won the cup.
Yeah.
The youth team had won the cup. They were out on the pitch in the warm-up, and it was kind of surreal. So the atmosphere, you could tell, even when you talk to people now, that it was an incredible atmosphere on that day. And obviously to have a positive outcome and a goal, you talk about, I'd had lots of shots that year. I'd hit lots of parts of Goodison. I'd make goals. Terrific. I'd had ones where I think making goalkeepers show reels, thinking, Jesus, how have they saved that? And then it was difficult, but for me, I was quite a strong character. So I always joke about people that sometimes fans think that if somebody kicks somebody up in the air, it means they're committed, and people start singing their name and think they're great. But within teams and dynamics, there's always different types of bravery. And as a footballer, bravery is wanting the ball. It's wanting the ball when the team's not doing well, which again can lead on to even where we're at now, that fans sometimes have to look a little bit deeper. So wanting the ball, still being willing to have that shot, even though the ones before it haven't gone where you would have wanted.
On a game that's of such magnitude.
Yeah. So then goal, it's like there's a level of that last one's gone in, but it's not just a little one.
I don't suppose you get really much time to think about it. But did it pass through your head? Or should I maybe bring this down and fly it off again?
You do it. No, you keep shooting. If you keep trying, it will turn around.
It's a fair old shot.
It's great. I still see it now. I still think, my God, my son is 10. He looks at it and thinks, who's that? That can't be you on your right foot. You got no chance. So it was a massive thing. So in that respect, it was huge. And then obviously the significance kind of grows off the back of that. So
how tough was that season?
Season was incredibly tough because, as I say, you come from an environment where you're quite spoilt.
Yeah, decent Villa side.
Yeah, we do like really strong Villa side, 4 Irish internationals. You're growing up in and around different people like that, different environment. I'd been in Birmingham for 5 years. I had some amazing friends there. I had a great time there. And then you come to Liverpool, and you've always been aware of the intensity of Everton, Liverpool, or how big it is. But for me, somebody that as a personality, I'm a perfectionist. So basically, you have a situation, if 10 people watch the game and 9 people came up to me and went, you did all right today. And then one said, Gareth, you were shit today. That's the one I went home with.
Right, yeah.
So coming to Everton and starting to experience that intensity around the town was incredible and took some getting used to.
So did you not have that in Birmingham then?
No. Birmingham was huge, but I'm saying it's a team that was in the top 6. It was a team that was used to winning things.
Right.
You were the next kid on the block. There wasn't that level of like intensity, but also like an immediate pressure. So I turned up, signed for Everton. I'm sat back thinking, this is my dream scenario. I'm playing for the team I supported as a boy.
Yeah.
It's not going to get any better. And then you're immediately dropped into a situation where from the first game there's that level of intensity and there's a different type of pressure. So as a young lad who's not really been open to that,
right.
I was in the full Ireland squad, in and out of the Villa team, and you're making your way, if you like. And it would have been similar for John Oster, and there was a couple of other younger lads at that particular time that you're looking around and you thinking, well, hang on a second, I'm playing on Saturday. I'm getting abused. You're not used to that. You're not used to the intensity of the place. And that it does take a period of adjustment to start to get used to that. And I find that quite funny now with living here in and around it, because at the start, that was an incredible culture shock and took quite a bit of getting used to.
obviously you're an Irish lad.
Yeah.
From just outside Dublin, or in Dublin.
Dublin boy.
So why Everton there?
Because everyone in Ireland supported Man United or Liverpool.
Okay.
Yeah, so obviously we have a natural affinity for Celtic, which would always be like your second club. But I remember thinking, Man United, no, I don't want to support them. I like being a little bit different, and that sort of coincided with Everton starting to put 1983, starting to put that team together that obviously went on and had incredible success, and were brilliant.
That's interesting. So you just that fact.
Yeah, straight away. So like 84 FA Cup final, beating Watford. Remember going out in the garden sulking after us losing to Liverpool in the cup finals, nearly crying. Parents looking at me thinking, what's going on with him? Just the intensity, thinking, oh my God, they got beat, going out and kicking the dog, couldn't handle it, and then to eventually play for them. So yeah, and it's part of that particular journey.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned how before you came to Everton, there was other clubs that were interested in you when you were at Villa.
Yeah.
Do you ever look back and think,
no,
you don't do that?
No, listen, we all have. I can be honest and say you have regrets about certain decisions you make through your career, but no, not at all. I think it's wasted, isn't it? And like you say, for me, why would I now?
No, of course. And you know, the goal itself just goes down.
Yeah. Well, listen,
so I suppose that alone is probably worth
it's massive.
Right?
And there's kind of a Shakespearean irony to that for the amount of stick that took through that season. There's probably still people going.
Maybe we should go easy on the lads.
Yeah. If anyone but him score that goal, because that season. But it was a difficult season. I always joke now, because people will talk about different things, but I missed a chance against Leicester 2 or 3 weeks before that. And that's the one that still comes back and haunts me at night.
Really?
Oh, yeah, I'll never forget it.
How come?
We cleared a corner because...
Just because you're a perfectionist?
No. Just, it was a simple chance I should have scored. And I remember the atmosphere turned after that, because we cleared a corner, broke the length of the field, and Michael Madar at the time pulled the ball back, and it was a side foot volley. And it's one of them, a side foot volley that you think it's harder to miss than it is to score. If it hits your knee, your ankle, your arse, it goes in. And I caught it perfectly and put it over the bar. And I remember thinking, I can't believe that's happened.
Yeah.
But then the whole atmosphere in the ground turned, so I started getting booed when I was on the ball and different things like that. And you end up thinking, oh my God, this is like mega pressure. Now we drew that game, but that led on to a period then when we played Sheffield Wednesday at home. We got beat 4-1.
Yes.
Then we ended up going away to Arsenal.
I remember. They won the league that day.
We're on every Arsenal show reel.
Yes,
ever.
Tony Adams, of course.
A left foot half volley worldie to make it 4-0. And like we'd gone down there with a view. I always laugh with Slaven. We'd gone down there with a view to try and keep things tight. Slaven Village played as a sitting midfield, defensive midfield player, and they scored from the corner really early. And it was like just red waves coming for the duration, because they knew winning that game they win the league. And then you go into a situation where that was the week where we had the incredible build up to the last day of the season. So you don't forget things. It's just with having been in the club for a few months, and there's always people talking to you, just different things come back to you. And everybody, ex-players, some of them might be the people you not expect, but they're the ones that have like really, really good stories.
Yeah,
and I think sometimes that's the thing that gets missed as well. Do you know what I mean?
I think so. You're right. That's a good point. But you know, you mentioned when in the Leicester game when you missed that chance and you got started getting a bit of stick off the Evertonians.
Yeah.
So players are aware of that stuff.
Yeah,
then.
of course you're aware of it. Because like, listen, the thing with football is everybody wants to play in the dream team, the scenario where everything's great and the fans are singing the name and it's all easy. But football doesn't work like that. And you've got to go through different periods to hopefully get to that. But like nobody could turn around and say that season was easy for people. It was incredibly intense.
I just wonder whether sometimes as fans, whether it.
No, but that's the glory of being a fan, isn't it?
It is, but is it that productive to get on players' backs like that? I mean, look. At the moment, Evertonians have got a right to grumble. I say
Evertonians will always grumble.
They will, and we are the best moaners.
No.
In the country.
I wouldn't say that, but everyone has their right.
Oh no, we love a good moan. Let's not mess around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nobody watching this is going to say Evertonians don't. Do you use Twitter or not?
I'm not a big Twitter.
Well, if you go on Twitter, you'll see what I mean. But
so what you're telling me is Twitter is dominated with unhappy Evertonians.
Oh, we love a good moan on Twitter. It's brilliant. And the podcast we do, it's just moan. It's just moaning. We do love a good moan. But the point I'm making is
constructive moan is different.
Well, that's the issue. That's what I'm asking. You know. I mean, that evidently didn't help that can't have helped your confidence.
No. But I'm sat here talking about this with you now. I'm saying at the time it's part of learning. You have to be able to handle that level of pressure, and I think that scrutiny's gone on a level again now because of the intensity of the game. But it was no different at that particular time when you were playing and living it.
Yeah,
that's your world. You don't see anything else. I think again you go back to that time is people stopping you on the street, asking if you're going to be relegated, people coming up to you in restaurants, people coming up to you in supermarkets, that is a different type of intensity, and you can only go through it, and because you have a positive outcome, it kind of strengthens you and makes it a little bit easier, because it always becomes a point you can refer back to that.
Of course.
That was a difficult time, but I keep saying it. Positive with there's no negatives in that.
No, it makes sense. It makes complete and utter sense. So after you left Everton, you went to Bolton then?
Yeah. And I decided to cause myself more trouble. So leave the club that stayed up and then go and sign for the team that my goal, or how they construed.
How did the Bolton fans take with you?
No, Bolton was probably difficult. I did really well. I had 5 years there. I was Sam Allardyce's first signing. Yeah. So obviously I stepped down to try and come back up, and we did that the next year through the playoffs. So, but that coincided with a time at Bolton where there was like massive change, and Bolton went on to have an incredibly successful few years.
Good players.
Yeah, some proper players, some really, really good. But everyone again will relate and gravitate towards the players that came in at a later time. But there was an incredibly strong core of players there that were quality. There was a huge amount of Danish players who were at that time were excellent. Gudni Bergson, Icelandic. There was an incredibly strong core there, and then as
was it Campo in it?
Yeah, Campo came later. JJ Kochi, Yuri Jokayev came in, and they were incredible and added something. But all of that had been built. That even from when Sam went in there first, there was a strong core group of very, very good players. So a demise doesn't happen overnight, and either does success, does it? There's a level of building goes into that.
Definitely. Yeah. But I read that you had a little fallout with Allardyce. Do you still see him now?
See him now. He's had an incredible career. There'd be no issues our side. But again, I think I probably caused a lot of my own problems, because you get involved in things or you fall out with people that when you look back you think, God, I didn't really need to even get involved in that.
Really?
Yeah. So youth is wasted on the young, isn't it? You get distracted. I think people ask me about young players now.
That's really philosophical quote.
This is not going to be a profound.
No, that was really
people go, but it's true.
It's
like Everton. It's the same things. Like when Howard, we had a really, really interesting week, because obviously we stayed up on the Sunday, and then I met Howard in the next week, and it was like we had a brilliant conversation. I had huge respect for him, and our relationship probably got stronger over the years. But like we kind of sat down and went, listen, what happened this year can never happen again. Nobody wants to go through what we've gone through this year, and we need to make sure it's better, and it will be. And then he obviously got sacked. So you have a situation where you go away on your holidays and you're thinking, oh God, what's going to happen now? Yeah. So on the one hand you think, I can't wait to get going again, because I can't wait to play. Pressure is to a degree, never going to live through that level of pressure again.
What was Kendall like then to work with? On just
everybody
basis?
Talks. Everybody will have their stories about Howard. Howard was obviously a one-off in relation to how he managed, and coming from a different era, and the game was starting to change already at that point about analysis, sports science, different things that probably managers took on board a lot more. But as a one-to-one, or as a manager that you would probably look at in the mould, that would people want to play for him? Would people want to give their all for him? Yeah, absolutely. He was incredibly charismatic. So it wasn't a fluke. Like at the end of the day, we sit here next to Goodison. There's no manager who's come remotely close to the success he had. And I'm not sure if anyone ever will. So I'm incredibly fortunate that I played for and was a part of somebody that had incredible success.
I wanted to talk about you a little bit more, though, because obviously I know it might be tough for you to talk about, but the illness that you had and the resilience that you showed.
None of it's tough.
Maybe those that don't know, what did you go through?
I was. It's 9.5 years ago. It was my little girl's birthday. I had a bad knee. I was driving to Bournemouth to go and see a friend. Had some lunch before I left. Got to the M40 near Warwick and started to feel ill. So you do the natural doctor in the car trying to diagnose. I had a healthy pitta for my lunch. Surely I can't feel this rough after a pitta. But I pulled over to the side of the road and basically started vomiting blood. So the long story short is I was rushed into Warwick A&E. The opportunity within this is Jeremy Sherman was on call. He's a gastroenterologist once a month, an amazing man. Examine me, something in your stomach. I recommend you to a surgeon who works in Walsgrave in Coventry, Vinod Menon, and I was transferred, and again, quick CT scan, and he said, we've something in your stomach and we need to get it out. So I had an aneurysm of the splenic artery, technical term.
Right.
So dodgy plumbing.
Okay.
And I was blessed with amazing people that saved me. So there's a huge mortality rate from the type of aneurysm I had. Obviously, we all talk about aneurysms. People think about aortic or brain or different things, but mine, and they basically saved me. So I am here today because of the quality of those people, and I am still eternally grateful to them now.
In terms of your recovery, were there any things that you went through in football that you could call upon in terms of getting you through?
No. Listen, you mentioned the word resilience, but I think a lot of ex-footballers are incredibly resilient because you live an unusual life in football. You're incredibly spoiled. You have an incredible life, and it's there's an element of fallback because you have to go through and build up a level of strength and resilience to go through that career, because nobody's career is obviously in a straight line. There's always elements that go with that. So I had a 9-month recovery. I had 3 days in intensive care. I had 3 weeks in hospital. I came out. There was more muscles on a pencil. I had obviously muscle wastage and different things like that. And you kind of think as a footballer, you think, right, well, I don't have cancer. It was an aneurysm. I want to try and play football again. And then you get the all clear from the doctor and they go, you can start to come back into it. But there was always going to be a question mark over my fitness because of sort of the damage that had been done. So
you carried on playing though for a little bit.
Yeah. Listen, I went back. Alan Irvine was the manager at Preston. One of my close friends was a coach at Preston. I went and did my rehab there, which was brilliant. I got back incredibly fit. Then I started playing, if you like, back with men again. And I went and signed for Sammy McIlroy at Morecambe. But in my head, I kind of thought, I'm not going to play top level again. I made my mistakes. So if you can't play again, what are you going to do?
And that led you on to entering into law then?
Yeah. Tell the story to people is that Edgehill University I had an amazing time there again. Brilliant people. They ran a fast track course in the summer, 6-week course. I met the head of the legal department up there, Franco Risotto. He said, if you've been out of education, how long? I was like, 16 years. Right. Well, if you do the course and if you pass it, you get a place on the...
So it's a fast-track course then?
Yeah. So
how long was that?
6 weeks. So basically,
sorry, 6 weeks?
Yeah. So all the lads were on holiday in football.
Yeah.
All the lads were on holiday. I went and did the course. Course finished on a Thursday and then started back at Morecambe on the Friday.
That's impressive.
Well, you say impressive, but...
No, Gareth, that's impressive. What was the content of the course?
The content of the course was developing academic skills and an introduction to law. So... for somebody that had no skills, it was an interesting 6 weeks. No, it was great. It was great, but I liked it. But again, I went in very inconspicuous. On the first day we went in and someone was doing the registration. And I said, I'd go in, I'm going to be really quiet. Don't people to know back. And the lad Ian Gannon, he was a mad Evertonian. So in the midst of this class, he's looking as if to say, Gareth Farrelly, what are you doing here? And I thought, so I managed to stay under the radar for about 4 minutes of the first morning, but they were a great help.
Yeah.
So then went back pre-season at Morecambe, was really enjoying it, got the letter to say, listen, you've been accepted at Edgehill University, starts on such and such a date. I remember Morecambe having an away game at Exeter and thinking, it's like a transatlantic flight.
Yeah.
Yeah, to go down on a Friday, 6 hours,
Jesus.
Play a game that you might not even play in or be a sub in, to do another 6 hours home. And I remember thinking, do you know what, knock it on the head now and go to uni. So I went to see Sammy Mac that next week. And I think Sammy McIlroy was quite funny because I think he was half expecting someone coming in as a player saying, I should be playing in that team. Why am I not playing? I'm better than him.
Yeah.
And I kind of went to him, listen, I've had a great time, but I'll be leaving on Friday. And started uni the following Monday, and that was it.
So are you still involved in football at all?
One of my close friends is the director of football at a big schoolboy club in Dublin, St Kevin's Boys, which are a great team, and he's been there for like 9 years, and he's doing brilliant work. So I'd have a fleeting flying involvement with him at any given time, but no, not overly. Quite comfortable where I'm at.
Good stuff. Right, okay, now what we like to do on GrandOldTeam TV is play a little game. Here's the bullet points. This is where it gets serious. Play a little game of teammates. So I've picked there 6 lads, and I want you to give me...
Can I phone a friend, or is there a potential veto?
You can veto just one though. I don't think you'll need to.
How many's on the list?
6.
Can we veto 5?
I said just one. No, these will be. I think these will be fine.
Oh.
Gareth, you struck me as the kind of fella, that got on with everybody. Bar the, Sam Allardyce.
Myself.
So, first of all, I'm intrigued by this one.
I can't see
Well, that's fine. I'll read on. Don't you worry. This guy's a bit of a cult hero in our house. My old man always talks about him. Right. It's hilarious. Michael Madar.
Michael Madar was class. He was great. Came in. He was like something else. One last time, and remember the film?
One last time.
In the West or something like that. So he was brilliant. He came in. He was incredibly charismatic. We got on really, really well. He was great, and he did well. So whilst he was here,
when we were younger,
he came in looking like a rock star, didn't he? Long hair, beard. People were thinking, "Oh my God, he must be a great player. He looks class." That was always the first part.
I remember standing on the Gladys Street, and me and my old man and having a chat with some of the people behind us, and he wasn't playing, and the rumour was because it was too cold and he didn't fancy it. That's nonsense, isn't it?
God, no. I love all these urban myths that develop over. He's not going to play unless the temperature in Goodison is. Who does that? I've never. No chance.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
He was a great guy. He was a really, really good guy.
Do you know what he's doing now or not?
No, but I asked recently about him. Someone was telling me I think he's back in France. I haven't seen him for years, but he was a top guy.
That'd be a good one for GrandOldTeam.
Yeah, very much so. You need to if you can get people to contact him and say, have you seen this man? Where is Michael Madar?
That's what we could do, a campaign to find Michael Madar. I like it. Michael Ball?
Michael Ball was a great lad as well. He's a great lad. Really, really like him. Obviously, he broke through at that time as a young Evertonian and did really well while he was here. So, yeah, really good.
You've already mentioned this fella, but Slaven Billy?
Yeah, Slav was brilliant. He's gone on. He's doing incredibly well. We signed at the same time, so we were incredibly close. So, we re-engaged again a couple of years ago, so he's a really, really good guy. And he had a difficult time here, didn't he? Because if you think back to it, you talk about character-wise, like he signed for Everton under Joe Royle.
Yeah.
But wanted to stay and fight for West Ham at that time because they were in a relegation battle, so he was due to come in the July after the World Cup. The Euros or World Cup?
France 98 World Cup.
Yeah. So it would have been the Euro 96, and then Joe Royle gets sacked. So the person that signed him when he comes in after finishing third in the Euros are doing incredibly well.
Yeah.
There's a new manager that didn't sign him, so straight away it made things like a little bit difficult for him. And then he went from having an amazing time, injuries and different stuff. So again, he was a quality footballer, but had a little bit of a harder time here.
Dunk Ferguson?
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Don't need to say any more about Dunk. Everybody knows it anyway. That will never change. So
is he?
He's a really, really good guy.
Is there a massive contrast between Dunk that we know as fans on the pitch and obviously?
No, but Dunk is incredibly comfortable in his own skin, and I think he doesn't suffer fools easily, and he's incredibly straight, and I think he's an incredibly loyal, and as a teammate and in a dressing room, you always knew where you were with him, and I had a lot of time for him.
Danny Calamatri then?
Well, Danny came in with a massive impact, didn't he? Like, again, you talk about scoring a derby in your debut.
Yeah.
Neil Ruddock looked incredibly pedestrian, to say the least, on a given day. But I think he'd probably look back himself now and go, well, did he have the career that people would have expected him to have? And I'm not sure what his answer would be to that. So there's a difference. We speak about it, and again, you talk about it. There's a difference between playing a few games and having a career. And I think that's the difference now when you look at the really, really top players are the ones that play every week, play every season, and have a proper, sustained, quality career. And maybe that's one of the changes in the game now, but it's happening less and less.
And the final one, God rest his soul, Gary Speed.
Gary Speed had an incredible career. It was obviously tragic what happened to him, but I think his time at Everton was a little bit different because that season coincided with a time where I don't think any of us know what happened aside from him and what would have gone on with him and Howard at a given time.
Yeah, am I right in thinking that when you came in that summer, did he go in the January?
Yeah, he went to Newcastle.
Yeah, so you only
So I wasn't close. We weren't close friends like some of the others would have been. But he was an incredible player, and he had an incredible career.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. It's been brilliant and really fascinating chatting to you, Gareth. We'll have to do it again sometime.
We'll have two hits then, me and you. We'll have a look and see how it's gone.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, mate. All the best. Thanks for coming on to GrandOldTeam TV.